I've got a question for you. Do you have a brand that may be stuck in the commodity space and you're trying to figure out how do you get out of that? How do you position it as a luxury product to get better margins and attract a different audience that will pay for better margins? I've got an expert with us today from Australia. Her name is Kathryn Porritt, and she helps people position luxury brands, luxury products, and she also helps people elevate their products and services to a luxury position. And she's going to unpack all of that. So, Kathryn, I want to welcome you to the Close the Deal podcast.
I am thrilled to be here. Thank you. We have dueling accents popping off each other. It's going to be fun.
We were laughing before we even got started. I was struggling with the vowels. Hey, your name. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to be fun. So what part of Australia are you in?
The best part of Australia, I'm from Brisbane.
Nice.
You'll see us a lot over the coming years because we've got the Olympic Games after LA. You'll hear more about us.
All right. So I got a question. I got a couple leading questions I'd love to ask. What is the most dangerous thing you see business owners doing today?
Here is my take on the market. I deal mainly in North America and across Europe, and mainly where I'm doing business. Here's the thing. The middle market has collapsed over the last few years. Now, I've been talking about this coming for a decade, but it really has. And so you've got people who are pretty good at what they do, who've been serving the middle end of the market. I don't care whether you're doing products, services, whatever you're doing. The middle market is really hard right now. And so what we've got happening is businesses are either choosing to go low or go high. So reduce down your prices to become more competitive, which reduces your margins, or they're going to the higher end of the market and it's a completely different kettle of fish up here. So it's the right decision for a certain type of business, which we can talk about. But honestly, the danger for me is going low when you're really good at what you do because the middle market's become so hard to compete in. That's the danger right now.
I agree. And we'll share some of my experience dealing in commodity markets. Next question, and I think you'll appreciate this one. Who or what are you grateful for that helped you get you where you are today?
Yeah, I was literally just talking about this with one of my business partners just a moment ago. So I am one of those, when in my 20s and 30s, I had that winning for the sake of winning competitive streak. And I'm really grateful for that because that set me up for success, my first company, all of the nice things that I was able to achieve. As a now 50-year-old, I do things incredibly differently. That business partner I was just talking about, we're starting a business that's really about sponsoring women who are incredible at what they do and giving them the toolkit to move from operator to investor. I'm grateful for the women who sponsored me, mentored me, showed me what's possible. And they're the people that I absolutely couldn't have created this success without. And now that I've turned a certain age, I'm turning my thoughts to legacy. And that's where I want to spend a lot of my time and my energy now is transferring that knowledge to the next generation.
I love that. I talk about mentorship all the time. And I'm very fortunate to have had 3 different major mentors in my career. And that makes all the difference in the world. Learn from their mistakes, learn from their wisdom, and pull time forward. So let's talk about what you do in industries that you work in, and then let's educate people on how do you position a product to be a luxury product. That's a very specific niche.
It is.
So let's unpack that a little bit. We'll start wherever you feel is best to start.
So it doesn't really matter whether you're in services, products, who you're selling to, whether it's B2B, B2C, it doesn't matter. The structure of this is effectively the same. So my background is important to understand. So that company that I was talking about in my 20s and 30s became one of the largest lifestyle companies in Australia, won all the awards, a big volume-based business. It was an ascending business, which is what you're typically told how to create, which starts at the bottom. You build your fan base and then you ask them what they want. You do SWOT analysis, you figure out where there's gaps in the market, you ask your audience what they want and you give it to them. That works. That's an Amazon model. It is a well-known way of creating very large businesses. When I sold that business, I was very intentional about, I did not want to have another volume-based business. I didn't want to replicate the urgency and the franticness of a volume-based business. So I started to study different business models and realized that there was this different way of doing business, which luxury businesses have always done and always known. If you look at those luxury heritage businesses, they actually are the complete antithesis of that model, the ascending model. They actually descend into scale. What I mean by that is they actually start at the very top of the market, and then they use the brand equity that they've created by working in a bespoke model at the very highest end of the market. So you think about a Chanel, we're creating custom gowns for royalty, then descended into ready to wear, then descended into licensed products like perfumes and cosmetics. So you still get your scale, but your brand descends. And I thought, gosh, I wonder if is there anyone out there teaching this, learning about it, applying this to different businesses? And I realized that there really wasn't. And so that's where I started applying this to personal brands initially. So I worked with some celebrities and people who had a fan base to try and help them transition from the lower end of the market to how do we work at the highest end of the market and do these really big deals. Then that transferred to service-based businesses and product-based businesses. So it doesn't really matter what kind of industry or who you're serving or what your location is. It's the model that matters. To your point, the idea here is you don't just add zeros to what you've already got. It's got to be a particular type of person and a particular type of company for this to work. The idea is that you are absolutely brilliant at what you must be. You cannot become a luxury brand selling into the unique, rich end of the market where people want powerful, really unique services or products with you being an absolute master at what you do. So that's number one priority. You have ticked that box. Then it's just positioning is the number one priority. The process that I do with my clients is it's real deep and narrow. So where are you absolutely the best at what you do in the world, where there is no one who can surpass you and you can own that market? Then from there, it's about keeping that position and constantly growing and evolving, because services, products, businesses, and brands are always trend setting. They're always at the pointy end of the market. So it's a brave strategy. You got no playbook, because you're on your own leading, and then everyone behind you is funnel hacking and copying what you do. But that's part of the business model. Again, think about that from a fashion perspective. You've got Chanel coming out at Fashion Week in Paris this week. Then from there, you've got your Zara's come out in a week or two with the copies. And then you've got following along behind that, the real volume players and Timo and Shein really copying that. But that's the business model. Then Chanel comes out with something that's more trend setting and then trend setting again. But that can be applied to any business, any personal brand. And it allows you to work with numbers that are huge, work with enrich engagements that are so exciting if you're that type of person and that type of operator and that type of brand that really loves working deeply and doing such creative, innovative work in the market.
Reinventing a product or service that's just that much better. If somebody, it's a personal brand, how do they brand themselves differently? How do you look at it different from a product versus someone providing a service?
Yeah. There's really not a lot of difference between the product or services. It's about the positioning of it. What people are looking for when they invest at the level of, I want to purchase something from the most expensive brand in this niche. What they're typically looking for is not the fact that they're the most expensive, but they're the most innovative. They're the most creative. It's rare, it's novel, it's first to market. So typically that's what we're doing, is repositioning something that already has mastery. It's already great at what it does, but it needs to have a completely new position in the market that allows us to create the connections and target the market that's going to invest at a really high level.
I'm going to jump in here in the shrimp industry. Before Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans, I met a shrimper. I knew he was different. He was very business oriented the way he thought.
Right.
After Katrina happened, he called me 2 weeks later. He's looking at the city of New Orleans and his fishing communities were totally demolished. And he's like, I have to do something different. And the shrimp industry is a commodity based business. like most seafood products.
Absolutely.
And when he called me, I said, I don't have the answer for you today, but I'll have it for you. Well, I'll figure it out. I'll help you. I got a
Yeah.
call 3 days later from another
Right.
gentleman from Seattle said, I want to come down and help the shrimpers do what I did for the Alaskan seafood industry with their fish, flash freezing the fish on board the vessel, locking in the flavor at the highest quality point.
Brilliant.
I introduced the two of them. And they were. The guy from Alaska, from Seattle,
Mm.
came to Louisiana, helped my friend Captain Lance Nacio retrofit his boat. And in 2008, when the economy shot, the price of the markets
Yeah.
collapsed, so did the
Yeah.
price of shrimp. It was selling for less than $1 a pound to the commercial
Mm.
fisherman.
Right.
He was selling it because of the branding, because of the
Yeah.
positioning, because it was innovative. It was the
Yeah.
innovation. Have you heard of Williams Sonoma? He
Yeah.
was selling it to them for $10 a pound.
Yeah.
And they were selling it to the consumer for $24 a pound. All
Yeah.
because they pulled themselves out of the commodity market. One other example, I was in Miami about 3 years after that. I saw shrimp being
Yeah.
sold as a commodity product without any fancy
Yeah.
packaging or anything, but it was in Miami, they were selling it for $36. Trying to get the industry to understand that's possible at scale is very
Right.
difficult. So I get the
Yeah.
part where you're talking about. So those people that leverage into that can really get those margins. They can have less volume for sure, but their margins are going to be fantastic and they can build a heck of a customer base. So piggyback on that, because as
Oh,
you were talking, I'm like, oh my God, my head's
you
exploding.
make me so
Because
happy.
that was
Yeah.
just by nature of what we were doing. It happened organically. And we did not set out to do that. It happened. But we recognized it for what it
Yeah.
was and we leveraged the heck out of it. And I'm still friends with that shrimper today because of that
Yeah.
relationship. And he's still the leader in the industry today, what he does across the entire nation.
I love that as an example because I always get the first clapback I get. Well, that sounds wonderful if you're in wealth, or that sounds wonderful if you're in business.
Yeah.
But I'm not selling business. I'm a shaman. I'm not selling it. I'm a meditation teacher, or I'm a yoga
Mm-hmm.
instructor, or I'm a shrimp example. It's so brilliant because I'm often saying there is always a most expensive brand. It always comes
Mm.
back to the innovation,
Mm-hmm.
comes back to the positioning, and it comes back to constantly continuing to innovate. Because my bet is that he hasn't just stuck with that.
He
He's
has not
continued to
constant.
innovated. Yeah.
Once he got the taste of what's possible, he's
Yeah.
constantly trying to find other ways to better
There you
market his
go.
product. Yeah.
That's it. That is the exact perfect example of what's possible. I absolutely love that. Anyone can do it as long as you're really good at what you do
How do
and
you
what
open people's eyes to that?
giving them the evidence of possibility. So your story is exactly what's needed in the market, because what is so dangerous right now is that so many business owners don't know any better. They think that in a market like now, where we've got uncertainty and economic geopolitical conditions and all sorts of things causing chaos, their natural instinct is to go lower. What your story has just opened people's eyes to, and I can serve you a million stories that are like that, is that there is evidence that you can actually, in a moment of uncertainty, choose to go higher.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as you're brave enough to continue to innovate and do something novel
Mm-hmm.
that perhaps no one has ever done before, there's inherent risk in doing that. But equally, if you're a real master at what you do, you'll know that in your bones. I'm the best shrimper.
Mm-hmm.
I know the product I'm bringing off the ocean is absolutely impeccable. I just need to, it's the evidence. Honestly, it's the evidence. So it doesn't feel like rainbows and lollipops.
And the way he got it to market is he started direct selling. We got some of the best chefs in the world here. He started
Right.
selling directly to them. And the chefs all of a sudden had their talking
Yeah.
point. The chefs had
Yeah.
their talking point to train their waiters to say, we have one of the top shrimpers in the whole Gulf Coast. And
Yeah.
we just got his catch in today. And this is what he does to the
Yeah.
product.
There you go. And even better if it was branded then.
Yes.
So then you've got,
It
this is
cost
the
it.
branded shrimping company.
They would write
Yes.
Captain Lance's
Yep.
shrimp on his branding for the packaging.
Yep.
He's got the whole thing. Now, there's only a handful of people that have copied him along the Gulf Coast because it's not easy. So
Right.
that's the advantage you have when you do this. It's not
Exactly.
easy for others to copy, but it's worth
No.
the effort for when they recognize it's possible. Can you give another example from your side that you've seen that's kind of unique that you said, okay, people didn't think it was
Yeah.
possible and it became possible?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's do the complete antithesis. So
Yeah.
let's do service-based business in a
Okay.
transformation
Perfect.
space where we've got no tangible thing at all that we're selling.
Okay.
So shaman.
Hmm.
Okay. So a shaman is someone deep in spirituality and consciousness.
Okay.
And so I'm going to say about 5 years ago, I had an incredible shaman come to me and say, I really want to be selling at this level. I love what I do. I know I'm very, very good at this. I know I've got a unique gift that I want to give to the world, and I don't want to be commoditized. I don't want to be selling this to the masses. I want to be working really deeply with people who pay me really well. So we did exactly what you just spoke about with your shrimping gentleman. And we got very clear on what made her different. What does she bring to the market that's so unique, so novel, so rich, so powerful, and so different? And we rebranded her as the Royal Shaman
The voice, I
with the
love it.
gift. Yeah, with the gifts of
Yeah.
Egypt and all the things that she brings into the work that she does
Yeah.
and all the power of that, and started positioning her into the market to work with really elite CEOs and people, founders, people who really needed those services, like a confidant that was there taking them on quests, being there to help them through decisions, being their consciousness and spirituality advisor in the background. And so she's selling her offers. She's putting together her $1 million offer, but she's been selling it for $250,000 per engagement for
Wow.
years now. That's no tangible benefit. We're not selling it. Really makes sense in the market in terms of here's a widget. So honestly, it can be done anywhere.
How does somebody like that go from being with everybody else? How do you get her to that place? And how does she get the marketing out or the word out that she is at this level and this is how I help you?
So it's a quiet marketing change. And so what I generally am doing with my clients is we spend about 30 days getting really clear on what they are best in the world at, because that's not an easy thing to answer. So it's not just shrimp. We need to get really clear on what you do better than anyone else. And so that's a body of work. It's a lot of conversations. It's a lot of research and a lot of thinking and branding work. Once we're clear on what you're best in the world at, it's quite easy from there. Then it's a matter of understanding where can we apply that, where you can do that work that no one else is doing, where they will invest at that level. So then it's choosing the target market
Yeah.
and then creating the offer for that market. So it doesn't take a long time. The relaunch itself is usually quiet because it's not like we've got to have funnels. As you were just talking about with your shrimping example, that's an intentional sales and marketing strategy to go and work with the restaurants and the wholesalers that are going to be delivering and servicing a luxury market. It's exactly what we're doing in the background, is making those decisions and intentionally creating the connections,
Gotcha.
because it's very different to a mainstream strategy where you just go spend a bunch of money on ads.
Yeah. I can totally see that.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
I want to share with people how to get in touch with you and say that's the perfect
Okay.
place for us to land this. A couple
Yeah.
questions before I wrap up.
Yeah.
What is your
Definition to close the deal.
Close the deal
Yeah.
podcast? What is how do you define
Yep.
that from your perspective?
Got it.
The way you sell things.
The way that I sell things in the luxury market is really different to mainstream. So mainstream market will tell you to press the bruise, find the pain, press the bruise, etc.
Yeah.
We give them prescription. You have to acknowledge the pain in the luxury market. You have to acknowledge the need. But where we spend most of our time is in the expanded vision of possibility. If every salesperson could sell this way, they would enjoy their job so much more. What I mean by that is seeing what the person on the other end of the conversation can't see for themselves and then anchoring yourself in that. So the main thing that I'm teaching my clients to do once we create a connection for them, how do you sell there? How do you close that deal? Is you expand the vision possibility, show them what they can't see for themselves. So why do they need a shaman on their team as part of their C-suite to be there for those decisions? Anchor yourself in it, and then pricing becomes just not even on the table anymore if you do a good job of that.
Gotcha. Going back to your younger self,
Yeah.
early in your career, what
Yeah.
guidance would you give your younger self knowing what you know today?
Yeah, it's funny. I don't think I would give her much guidance except say, just keep pushing on
Uh,
because every mistake that I made has made me better at what I do. And
right there.
yeah, every risk that I took was worth taking, whether it came off or didn't. So I think I've got to the point now where I'm like, I think she did a pretty good job. She's okay.
One last question. When you celebrate closing the deal with somebody, how do you
Yeah.
celebrate that?
I am a real gift person. So if it's myself, if I've closed something that I'm really proud of, it's usually a beautiful piece of artwork. My mum's an art teacher. It's sort of runs in my blood. So an investment piece.
Gotcha.
I had a client say to me the other day, I want to close a deal so big that you want to hop on a plane just to have a glass of champagne with me. And I'm like, okay, great. So halfway across the world just to have a glass of champagne. That sounds like a pretty good way to celebrate,
Because
reason to celebrate.
I talk to a lot of salespeople, and I always ask them,
Yeah.
so where are you going to dinner, right? Where would you
Yeah.
go to dinner, or would you go hop on the jet to go have champagne?
Oh, look, I have some wonderful, I'm a bit of a foodie. I've got some great restaurants here in Brisbane that I'd love to go to celebrate that my husband
They,
and I enjoy. But look, I've got them all around the world. I love hopping on a plane and celebrating with my clients. Share a dinner.
I love it. How do people get in touch with you? What's the best way for somebody to reach you? And we'll have your contact
Yeah,
information on the page for you.
great. So my company is Iconic Empire. So you can
Mhm.
find us at iconicempire.com. But something that might be a bit of fun to play around with is we have a calculator tool
Mm,
that is called iconicpricing.com. It's backed by the data from all of the clients that we've worked with in repositioning them. And it asks you about 23 questions. So it's going to take you about 5-10 minutes to answer. But what it does is it'll take that data based on your mastery, your experience, your credibility, your connections, where you're located in the world, what industry you're in. And it will give you a range of pricing that we would recommend is possible for you and what you're leaving on the table by not being in the luxury end of the market.
That is
It's pretty
fascinating.
fun.
That would be fun.
Pretty fun.
That'd be fun to
Yeah.
experiment with for sure. So the
Yeah.
domain is iconicpricing.com. Kathryn, this has been a lot
Yeah.
of fun. It's always fun to talk to somebody from the opposite end of the world at this time of day.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me. This has been great.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Thank you. And that is a wrap with Kathryn. I hope what she did, one thing, is open your imagination to what is possible. I've seen it. I've seen it, the example I provided. I've seen it in other instances of other products I've worked with where it works to position the brand in such a way. And she does it with the services as well. So I hope she sparks your imagination. I'll have her information on closethedeal.com. Check it out on closethedeal.com. We'll have a special page for her. And you know the drill. Be intentional and make today a great day. And last, I'll ask the favor at the very end. If you found this helpful, please share this with others. Hit the bell, make a comment, subscribe, leave a comment below. Do you think you could do this with your business? Could you position your business as a luxury service or product? All right. Appreciate you. Make it a great day. Bye bye.